Welcome to a new episode of The Growth Show with Dr. Glen and Keshelle.
Welcome to another episode of The Growth Show with Keshelle and Dr. Glen.
I'm excited to have this conversation. First of all, how are you feeling?
I am feeling good.
You enjoying this stuff?
I'm loving it.
Okay. I was about to make a post. Didn't get a chance to do it, but it was so interesting. In the last episode or previous episode, you talk about being in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And so interesting that you've so flawlessly now come to the front. I just have to put that on camera.
You just bring out the best in me.
Awesome. So today this episode is all about talking to lifelong learners. So if you've been following, we've talked to lovebirds, we've talked to legacy leaders, and today it's all about lifelong learners. And then just as a recap, how would you define who a lifelong learner is?
So a lifelong learner would be somebody who takes learning in various forms and at various stages of their lives. And so you don't just save learning for a specific area. So some people think, okay, learning is for people in school or learning is for people in college. It takes more than that. You could learn just by watching a program.
Yeah. And it's also for people who truly understand that there's no such thing as learning is ending.
Yeah.
Lifelong learners are people who, whether they have a degree or even 10 degrees, we got to talk about that. They realize that learning is a continuous act. And because, I could be honest, I know people who believe that I don't have time to learn or I've already done all the learning that I can do.
Or I'll pay somebody to do that for me because I don't need to know.
Yes. And so lifelong learners, and you resonate. We know people who resonate with the term lifelong learners are people who are always looking to grow. And y'all are people that this show loves.
Yeah. And as long as you're living, you should be learning and growing.
Learn or die? It's too much.
You're so extreme.
So if you've been following again, we talk about the start-stop model. What are the things that we encourage lifelong learners, in this case, to stop doing?
Yes.
And then, of course, if you continue and watch us, we'll talk about what we want you to start doing. Yeah. And it's from our experience.
Yes.
And so let's dive in. This particular first stop has really... We have some differences in this point. Yeah. And we have differences because although I think we want to carry the same message to you, we kind of have similar differences. Anyway, let me make the point and keep going. So point number one is stop believing that a degree is the best form of education. Go ahead. Say what you have to say.
What do I have to say? Stop believing that. I would say stop believing that a degree is the only form or the most important or the most popular form of education. Yeah?
I think we all believe or understand, especially with the pandemic, understands there are various forms of education. Yeah. I want people to stop believing, though, that a degree is the best form of education.
But it is.
You see why I read
From an educator, it is. It is. I would say it is one of the highest forms that is recognized by society. And that's why so much emphasis is placed on it. You spend so much time into getting it, and you also spend so much money.
Yes.
I spent $65,000 plus to get my doctorate degree. That ain't the master's and the bachelor's and all the other degrees. So it's so much emphasis placed on it.
I think there's too much emphasis placed on it because there are people who then believe that if I don't have a degree, I'm not valuable. If I don't have a degree, I should not apply for this role. If I don't have a degree, I can't communicate my worth to a client. And truth be told, that is all false. I don't have a degree.
We can't say it's false. It's just different.
It's false.
Make your point about you
I don't have a degree.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are shocked.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen people's faces.
Not a single degree.
When I've told people that I don't have a degree.
Yeah, you don't.
And that has never, ever stopped me from progressing. That has never stopped me from obtaining opportunities. That has never stopped me for applying for and getting roles, because degree was not my primary form of learning. It was certifications. Now, ask me how much certifications I have. I will, I'll give you a book, a list. Ask me how many conferences I've attended over my career. That'll make up a book as well. Ask me how many mentors and coaches that I've learned from. Ask me how many books I've read. And so all of those add to the education and the knowledge that I have. And there are people who called me. I remember someone telling me, Keshelle is an entire encyclopedia when it comes to just knowledge. So that's why I feel like, we tend to place too much emphasis in this day and age, at least, on a degree when it's not stopped people who don't have them. At least I can speak for myself.
I agree. I think we're in agreement with that you don't place all the emphasis on a degree, because there are other options, and we'll talk about that when we talk about in the next episode. But you also want to appreciate also that you may be an anomaly. You may not be, it's not the norm. You know what I'm saying? It's not the norm that people get the positions that you would have gotten without having a degree. It's not the norm.
I think it's not the norm, perhaps because it goes back to the point, and that may be the message of stop keeping yourself from opportunities if you don't have a degree.
Yes, don't count yourself out. Don't limit yourself. Still apply for that job. Still apply for the role, and sell yourself in the best possible form with whatever qualifications or educational learning that you may have.
And that is something that I think that's the issue. Because I'll tell you, I have had top positions, executive directors. I've had lots of great positions, lots of great roles outside of me running my own business. And I see the applications that have requirements master's degree or requirements bachelor's degree. I see those requirements. And I'm like, okay, that don't apply to me.
The nerve of you.
Like, okay, what else are they looking for? Okay, they're looking for that experience. Okay, I have that. They're looking for that. Okay, I have that. Yeah. And I still apply. Yeah.
I like the message. I like that message about don't let the fact that you don't have a formal degree stop you from applying or from selling yourself in the best possible form. That's different from saying not getting a degree.
Yeah. Because success is inevitable or can be inevitable no matter what form of education you have. If you choose to take advantage of the opportunities, apply. Because we have people with degrees who are still unsatisfied and still not in the role. And I think, I won't call it organizations, but I remember in my career, I came into the company without a degree try not to call the company name, but I came in as an assistant in that role, and I was an assistant to a supervisor who had a degree, bachelor's degree. And in 3 months, once my probation was about to be confirmed, guess what happened? I think I told this story to you. They switched our roles. So they made me the HR manager, supervisor. That's the local company.
Looking to get killed. How could Susie come here and get
they made her the assistant, and she was furious.
Of course I would be. War after that.
I mean, she still smiled at me, and we still had to work together.
That's a fake smile.
But the degree doesn't make me or you or anyone a better worker. It's the individual.
Yeah. We gotta digress on this one because we can be here back and forth all day. Yes. And I just want the point to come across: do not discount or discredit yourself if you don't have a degree. Still apply for that position. Still sell yourself. Still put yourself out there for the position. I know you can't come to work to UB without a degree. They'll tell you that.
I don't work for UB.
They'll tell you that you need a degree to work in it. So some areas you need it.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So what is your next point that we should stop doing as lifelong learners?
Okay, so point number 2 is stop believing that your learning a year ago is still sufficient today.
Wow.
Yes, that's
That's
a big one.
powerful.
You know,
Yes.
the world has changed, technology has changed, and we cannot be satisfied with the workshop that we did a year ago. I was going to say 5 years ago, but no, a year ago.
Yeah, Pastor Franco Charles said, I'm not okay. I'm not okay with having the same knowledge that I had last year. I'm not okay with being in the same position that I was in last year. And that's what lifelong learners do.
Yes.
We find ourselves just not being okay.
Yeah.
And by not being okay means that you want to progress, you want to get more and to know more.
Yeah.
And technology has changed a lot. Sometimes the technology changed so fast. It depends on the area that you're in. We talking about a year, 6 months, 3 months.
Yeah.
Knowledge
And I
would
think
be
it's
obsolete.
that mindset too for those who may not consider themselves as lifelong learners, and wonder why people who are lifelong learners constantly progress and constantly upgrade or constantly take advantage of opportunities. Because I know for me, I don't like, it's a feeling of, if I don't learn something today, again, a year ago is like 10 years to me, there is like this emptiness. Like, what I doing with my life? Like, I'm not reading a book. Like, when I don't read books, I'm like, Keisha, you haven't read a book for the last 2 months. What's going on with you? And that's a natural thought process to me. And so I think, when we speak to lifelong learners, I believe it's more of a reminder.
What would you say to the person that looks at you and say, you just smart, so that's why you taking that position?
No.
You're just a smart woman.
No,
Pretty
listen.
and smart.
No, I believe I have natural intelligence, like many people. My knowledge came from reading, studying, learning from people, paying for workshops, paying for mentors, paying for coaches. You said, $65,000 was your doctorate degree. I can't even quantify.
Oh yes, you can, because I can. I can quantify
The money man could okay, so put a number on it.
Coaching. And I wouldn't go through all, but I would say I saw 1 year you spent $15,000 with one coach.
That's just one coach.
That's just one person.
And that's one coach. That's not the retreats and the other things that came with that.
So that's just $15,000 on one, and that's not over the years that we've been together.
Yeah, that was one coach.
So I would say about $100,000 over the last 7-8 years.
Well over.
Yeah.
Well over.
Yeah.
I remember that particular coach. I felt like I was paying a mortgage.
Yeah.
And I was paying him each month.
And a lot of the time, it's not that you so had the money, you had to make payments.
I had to make payments.
This lifelong learning thing was so important to you that you were willing to make the financial investment.
And for me, it was, if I don't learn this skill, then what?
Yeah.
I'm going to stay stuck. And Keisha don't stay stuck.
Yeah.
I don't stay stuck. It's either learn or die.
Yeah. You extreme. Learn or die is extreme.
That's how it feels.
You just learn to progress. Why not to be die?
Because I'm like, if I don't make this sacrifice or make this investment in this education,
are you really gonna die?
That's how it feels.
Yeah?
Because staying stuck, and there's nothing wrong with being stuck. Getting stuck is normal.
Yeah.
Staying stuck.
Yeah.
Because there's someone out there that has some knowledge that will give you the insight to progress. The question is, are you, and I maybe a point, maybe for next episode, but are you willing to make the investments to progress? Because that $15,000 investment in one coach, that was the year that I exceeded $100,000 in revenue.
It took you to another level.
So we look at and I think that's one of the points, where we look at the cost of the knowledge, and we don't have a problem paying that for a degree, but we look at the cost for a coach or for a workshop, and then we look at, okay, what is the return? That one investment that year broke a record for me, and I haven't looked back.
Yeah. What I think I would like to hear from you, though, in terms of your learn or die, I would like to hear you talk about dying. And dying don't necessarily mean dropping down dead.
No, it may feel that way, but dying for me is Taylor Swift said something in a magazine that I always remembered. And I'm going to paraphrase it, but in essence, she was saying that she's allergic to mediocrity. Like mediocrity is something like she's afraid of it. She's allergic to it. She's afraid of it, and I think that's where dying means to me. So for me, mediocrity or staying where I am today that I was 6 months ago or a year ago means that I am not progressing. And if I'm not progressing, then
Your dreams, your
then,
vision, your
then
values, your goals may die.
yes, and
I think that's the point I would like to hear you bring out.
Okay,
Because it
that
sounds
makes sense.
extreme to say learn or die. And
Yes.
somebody hearing you may think of it in a literal sense. And it's not necessarily in a literal sense. Right?
Yeah.
Because you could stop learning till the point
But
where
the dreams, the goal, the purpose may be extreme, but will die.
Yes.
Then what else? What else am I doing here? So it's still learn or die.
you're passionate about this, huh? This could come
You
across
see,
like
you see the connection, right?
You are obsessed.
If I don't learn and grow,
Uh-huh.
my dreams, my goal, my work,
My worth.
my worth, my purpose, because everything that I do is tied to my
Tied to
purpose,
purpose.
will die. All you're doing is cutting out that middle ground and say learn or die. It's the same thing. That's how I see it. And then and the work that I do with progressing and coaching and guiding and facilitating other people's growth means that I cannot be on the same path that I was last year. I have to constantly, as teachers, we know that. You know, you can't come up there being still saying the same thing a year ago. You have to constantly learn because there are people who are looking to me and people who are looking to you for the new information.
Yes.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, like one of the things we would always say, and we're pressed for time, we would move to the next point. Like when Bishop Valentino Williams will come up each Sunday, and he will come up, it's like a fresh word all the time. I'm like, I heard that passage before, but I've never heard it in that format. And it shows that he had to take some considerable amount of time to do the research, and the Holy Spirit had to give him a revelation because it could sound like the same thing over and over.
And to add to that, it takes, like you say, the revelation from the Holy Spirit is important. And it is taking that time to do the research, taking that time to do the studying. We tend to take that for granted. And so it's that same thing. For me, taking the time to do the studying is the books, the conferences, the coaches, because it's what I think our purpose.
You could do this all day.
I could talk about this. That's how you can talk about your topic all day.
Let's move to point number 3.
Okay, point number 3. You said that last point.
No. You're on the roll, so I'm going to let you take this one.
So point number 3 is stop believing you are too old to learn. Learning doesn't have an age limit. As long as you are living, you should be
You
learning.
all up in my business, right?
All right, you talk. Tell me that.
So I remember why this resonated with me. I remember I was going off to school to do my master's at 35. And one of my leaders said to me, where you going? You're too old to be doing this. Listen to me. You're too old to be doing this. Why don't you go get married and have kids? Leave that for the young people. And I was devastated because I was looking for the support.
Validation.
I was looking for the validation as a leader and a father figure, and it didn't come. And I remember my sister said to me, she said, you're crazy. You're leaving your good banking job to go off to school. But I support you. Here's $200. That's all I have. God rest her soul.
Wow.
Go, because I know you go in because that's what you wanted to do.
Right.
And I went off. As a result of me getting my master's, I was able to now teach at the university part-time. And it now opened the door for me to come full-time. And so sometimes what we can do, we can let people's opinion put us in this box. That if you're 35, you're 40, you're 50, where you go in, you know? And so learning is not tied to an age.
You know, and 35 for me is like, for you to think 35 is old. I mean, but then I think of, you know, the work that I do, and I'm going to call her name because she's an inspiration to me. Gloria Jane, you know her, right? She's what, 60, 70, maybe even a mid-70s, and she's literally taking workshops.
Yeah.
You know, and coaching. And I'm like, you know, society could think, okay, this woman should be, you know, playing with grandkids
Yes.
or whatever, but she is attending workshops, she's working and she's learning and coming to the calls with, hey, I'm trying to do this worksheet and it is so refreshing
Yes.
to believe. And so the message is don't let society, don't let
And
yourself
people
and people,
because you
yeah.
could also be so intimidated. And the ironic thing about it, when I went off to do my master's, I was not the oldest person in the class. There was a lady who was 55. Jennifer was 55.
Yeah.
Her kids and her grandkids went off to school, and now she decided to come back and finish up what she would have started years ago. And so I still was not the oldest person.
Yeah.
She was 20 years older than me.
Exactly. So don't let yourself, one, and don't let society make you feel as if you're too old to learn.
Yes.
Because, you're not. It's a lie.
Yeah, there's no age limit on learning. As long as you have your mental capacity, as long as you have the resources, the willingness, the
desire.
capability, you are able to learn. So stop listening to the lie that you're too old. I'm a living witness. You're not too old.
All right, so let's do a quick recap. Point number 1 was...
Go ahead. This your field. I like you to go for your
Stop
passion.
allowing a lack of a degree to limit you.
Yes.
That's how we fixed it,
Yes,
right?
man, yes.
Number 2 was... What was number 2?
Stop.
I can't remember, man. Listen.
What is brain?
Stop believing that you're learning a year ago is still sufficient. Nope. And stop. Number 3, say that one.
And stop limiting yourself to age, because learning, growing, progressing does not have an age limit.
Yes. All right. That's another episode of The Grow Show. See you next episode.
Stay tuned for the next episode.